Hi everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you in the British line. This is the Tier 10 FV4202, a really good tank and one I'm looking forward to reviewing. As always, we'll have a look at tech spec and we will use blitzhanger.com for that. Now, this is something new in terms of firing system because you've got HESH shells. Now, obviously you've had them before in the Cent 7.1, but you may not have used them. You may prefer to use the other 105mm gun that doesn't have HESH system. I'm also aware of the fact that you may be aware that there's different shell dynamics, etc., but I nonetheless have a mini tutorial in here as well. If you've come directly from the 7.1 and you've watched the video, then I do apologize for repeating, but of course I need each video to stand alone should somebody come in just to review a tank without going through the sequence of the tech tree. So I do apologize for that if you've already watched it, but I think it's important for those playing this tank. In terms of the tank itself, I would run black T, maximize that view range, get it up to almost 308 meters, which is one of the best in tier. It also maximizes the reload, which is very important when running a medium tank. There's a choice of two guns. The top gun is the one with the HESH. So if you want to fire HESH, you need to get the top gun. Both are 105mm guns. The other gun has a standard firing system. Now, the L7B top gun is the HESH gun, and that is exactly the same as the Cent 7.1 and many of the same characteristics. 255mm of pen with APCR rounds, which is standard round, with gun rammer 268 if you use calibrated shells, doing 350 damage points plus. Muzzle velocity is excellent at 1471 meters per second, but if you use supercharge, it goes up to 1921 meters per second, which is one of the best in tier. Muzzle velocity with HESH is 1525 meters per second. HE is the same, so that is lower. So your Pramo round has a lower muzzle velocity than your standard round. Now, normally if you have AP as your standard round and APCR as your Pramo round, APCR has a higher muzzle velocity. That's not the case here. So there are different characteristics. So therefore, let's take a quick timeout. Let's have a look at this HESH mini tutorial and let's hand over to the boffins to help us with that.
HESH high explosive squash head, Heat high explosive anti-tank. These two rounds first saw use in World War II. For these ammo types, distance or kinetic energy are not a factor once they reach their target. HESH is a slow speed round that uses concussive explosive energy to damage the interior of the target. HESH contains a thin casing with a plastic explosive that flattens against the target before exploding. Once the round is partially squashed, the plastic explosive ignites. The concussive energy transfers through, and pieces of the armor or equipment inside become the destructive elements. Heat contains an inverted cone-shaped charge with a metallic liner. Once the round reaches the target, it detonates, creating a molten metal hypersonic jet. This explosively formed penetrator requires standoff distance to form its maximum penetrating power. Research has shown the more angled the cone is, the more concentrated the jet becomes, increasing its force and penetration distance. Advances in technology have mitigated these effects, such as explosive reactive armor and composite armor with ceramic plates and other materials. Spaced or slat armor also reduces the effects due to causing premature detonation.
So you've got all that, I hope. So therefore, let's have a checklist. Let's have a quick catch up on the key points. So HESH detonates on initial impact. Therefore, it's not effective against spaced armor. It also won't push through objects. So therefore, you can't fire around through wooden huts, structures, etc. on the Blitz maps. It will detonate on impact. It also has a lower muzzle velocity than AP, if that's your standard round. In this case, it's APCR. And it's the opposite of APCR when it's your Pramo, when that has a higher muzzle velocity. So you need to be aware of that. The shell will travel slower than your standard APCR round. You also have less pen than your standard round, whether that's AP or in this case APCR, and less pen than your normal Pramo rounds, which are heat, right? So if you have APCR heat as your standard Pramo, it has higher pen than your AP standard round, right? That's not the case here. It has lower pen, and normally we switch up to Pramo when we want more pen. You can't do this here. Your max pen round is your standard round, which in this case is APCR in this gun system. but it does higher damage than a PCR, so note that. Okay, let's back to the tech spec. Reload is 6.4 seconds with gun rammer, 6.8 with calibrated shell, so it's pretty good. I would run vertical stabilizer because it's a medium tank and you will fire a lot when moving, but we'll discuss the possibility of using refined gun later on when we look at dispersion. Gun depression is 10 degrees, gun elevation is 20 degrees, so it's excellent gun alignment on this tank, and gun depression comes in very handy on this tank, and you'll see examples of that in the gameplay we are going to look at. Now, it's a big step up from the Cent 7.1 in that it does 50 kilometers per hour, so it's quite fast. It does 20 in reverse. But more importantly, and what I think is an even better advantage, is that it has a much better power to weight ratio. The power to weight ratio on this tank is decent. Okay, it's not best, but it's not the worst. And this tank can shift. It also has decent traverse, so there are 2 upgrades from the Cent 7.1 that make this tank overall far more agile, nimble, and a better brawler. So it is an upgrade from the 7.1. Now, it has good concealment too, and a tank with a view range of 308 meters, it needs to get within 238 meters of you when it's trying to spot you, so it's very good concealment. And if you're firing and moving, that of course goes up to 290. But if you're just spotting and you're in a good position, tanks need to get very close to you to spot you up. Now, looking at the armor profile here, we see that this has an excellent turret armor. Has decent armor on the front. It will bounce shots. You're going to see that in the game as well. It also has spaced armor at the side like the 7.1 before it, so this is really good. Why? Well, it means it's going to block shells coming at you which are HESH, heat or HE. There are a lot of big guns out there in tier 10 and tier 9, waffle tractors, Death Stars, you name it, right? If they fire heat, HESH or HE at you, they are going to either not do any damage or do minimal damage if they hit the spaced armor, so it's great protection against those big guns. You also have that frontal armor and the turret, so overall you've got a good armament system on this tank as well. The back of course is very vulnerable, and you are vulnerable to getting HESH or HE at the back of this tank. But you see here front on, this tank is very difficult to pen if you're top tier, and even against tier 10 tanks. If we switch up here, you've got some good armor at the front, good turret armor, and you still have that spaced armor, so the armor system on this tank is good and effective. Combine that of course with its 10 degrees of gun depression, and you have a very effective hull down tank should you wish to be a hull down sniper or adopt positions on the map where you're allowed to fire over an edge and down. And it's very effective at that, and you will see that when we look at the gameplay. The dispersion on this tank is also very good. It's only 0.29, or if you use refined gun, it's 0.276. If you're planning on using this tank to snipe a lot, then refined gun is better. If you're planning on playing it more as a traditional medium tank, getting out there, then you want to run vertical stabilizer, but it's still 0.29. What does that mean? Well, it means it's a target that's 100 meters away. Your maximum deviation, your maximum amount that you can deviate from the central aiming point of your target is 29 centimeters, 0.29 at 100 meters. That's what that means. So it's very good. It's quite low, and it means that this tank has a very effective gun system. And you will see that gun system used to great effect in the game we're about to look at, which is Black Goldville. And apart from the review of this tank, this is a great game of Blitz, I have to say. I really enjoyed playing it, and it has a bit of everything. It goes right down to the wire. We come back from a really bad position. I think it's 5 against 2 tanks. So this game has a bit of everything. And also, I play this tank very aggressively in this game. Those of you who watch my videos, I'm an aggressive Blitz player anyway. I don't really hang back too much. I'm even aggressive when I'm in TDs. But when I'm in medium tanks, heavy tanks, I'm extremely aggressive Blitz player. I don't think you definitely couldn't accuse me of being a camper, although we've discussed that before. It's kind of a nonsensical thing if you're trying to snipe. But you know, I just go balls out in this, hell for leather, and you'll see in a bit. I actually go right into the teeth of the reds. Yeah, it's just really great fun game. Now let's have a look at some of the characteristics of this tank. Just have a look at this. I told you about the armor profile of this tank, right? So I fire off, get a shot into the Sheridan, and then he bounces, and if you look, slowed it down, it bounces off that frontal armor. When I was playing the game, I thought it bounced off my turret, because I was, in real time it's difficult to tell, but when I looked at the replay, and we slow it down here, you see it bounces off that frontal armor, those angles, the apex where the armor plates meet, and it shows you how effective it is, and you saw how good the gun system is. Bang, straight into the Sheridan, and I bounce a shot off him. And that really is, in a nutshell, the good characteristic of this tank. Excellent gun system, really accurate gun, fantastic muzzle velocity, and that strong armor on the front and on the turret. Doing what I should do now as a medium tank, clearing off the flank, make sure that our flank is clear, which it is, and then capture the base. So good start for me as a medium tank, doing what I should do. Now this Sheridan, he has a bit of a hard on for me now. This often happens in games, by the way. You see this quite a lot. If somebody, particularly early on in the game, fires a shot and they miss or get a bounce and they get very frustrated, and what they decide to do is they say, okay, I want to get revenge on this guy because my shot should have penned him and he penned me and he shouldn't have. And they come along, and this Sheridan then, he throws caution to the wind, comes along. Now, I'm not interested in engaging him. I decide I want to take out this T-54 because he is coming into a dangerous position where he can spot us up, and I don't want him spotting up all of my allies, so I'm willing to take a hit to take him out. And again, you see the gun system here. I take one shot from him and I clear him off. So really good example of this tank in action, and this tank is an excellent brawler, as you saw there. Okay, I realize I'm a tier higher than him, but nonetheless it is an excellent brawler. Now here is what I'm saying, and when I go balls out here, I just go straight into the reds here. I'm going to try to help my ally, but really I kind of shouldn't because he's dead now and I'm up against 5. But I really enjoyed playing this tank, I have to say, and I felt really confident in it, and I didn't really mind. I didn't feel I was vulnerable going up against all those guys. Probably a silly decision. I want to slow this down to show you that this is what I'm talking about, shell selection here, right? You need to be conscious of the shell you have loaded when I was doing that tracking shot, because I would not have been able to hit him with any other shell type. Either my HESH or my HE would have exploded on impact on the wooden hut, and I wouldn't have done any damage. So therefore so I just wanted to slow that down to illustrate what I was talking about earlier about your shell choice and shell selection when you are using this gun system. Now we're into a really interesting situation. We have a 5v2 situation, and we actually win this game. And while I was a bit reckless earlier on, and I was kind of like, went up against kind of 5 reds on my own, now I'm being a bit more cautious, and not evidenced by that piece of sloppy play there, but I'm being more cautious here. And what I'm doing is I'm utilizing the strengths of this tank. I'm utilizing its strong hull. I'm in a position where I can get a lot of shots off hull down and only show my turret, and I'm going to get some bounces, one of which you saw there. I'm going to get some more. And what I'm doing now is, by keeping in this position, and why I'm not moving, is that I am spotting up those reds. So now I've spotted, so the E50 spotted up, the Leopard is spotted up, and it's allowing my ally to pick them off. And he's a big gun and he's doing a lot of damage. Now here we see the gun system in action, right? And again, characteristics of this tank: the gun depression, there we go, bam, clear him off, and the strong turret armor bounce straight off the E50. So again, example of the strengths of this tank and playing to its strengths, using the gun depression, went hull down there and able to take out the Leopard. And what did I do there? I tracked him. I was hoping we would be able to take him out, but we fluffed the kill shot, and then I fluffed another kill shot. but nonetheless we take him out, and now we have a 2v1 situation from 5v2 down. I took a couple of hits, of course I did. I guess when you have 5 targets, 5 reds against 2, you're always going to take a couple of hits. I'm down to 79 hit points. Again, what I'm talking about, just a brilliant game. It has everything. It goes right down to the wire. I'm hanging on for dear life. I don't cap here. I decide that we need to go and kill this guy, and I saw that my ally T11OE4 is going for him, so I need to go and help him. So what do? Well, I'm a medium tank, right? I've got speed and agility, got a good power to weight ratio. I don't want to leave my ally on his own, so I go the long way around, be sensible, clever, using my speed to come up behind the Yaggaroo. And if you got to come up against the Yaggaroo, you want to be coming up from behind it, right? You know, it is sort of like being in a prison shower. You know, coming up from behind is sort of where you want to be. So there we go, clear him off, and there's a massive carry from me and T11OE4. We'll have a look at the scores here. You can see though, massive carry from both of us. Between us we killed all of the reds, almost 4k damage for me. You can see he did a lot more damage, but my XP is over 1.5k, and that's what delivers the mastery badge. And yeah, I think that game of Blitz really showed the great characteristics of this tank, right? And it also showed sort of the yin and yang, or let's say the positive and negative aspects of gameplay, in that I probably didn't play as well as I could in some parts of that game, but when it mattered, I kept my head and did the right thing for my team, keeping the enemy spotted up, allowing my ally to do damage, and then making the right decisions when they counted, which sort of made up for making possibly the wrong decision of going hell for leather, balls out into the reds earlier on. But yeah, I thought it was overall a great game of Blitz that went right down to the wire, and very evenly matched teams, I thought. Well, kind of, as if you know what I mean. So anyway, let's have a recap. This is an effective medium tank. It's really fun to play. I would use the top gun because it's all about HESH, baby, HESH. And you know, that's what's different about this tank. It's more agile than the Cent 7.1 before it, so it's more in line with what you expect from a medium tank, and it has decent traverse, unlike the Cent as well. I would maximize the view range, so therefore I use Black T, which also helps you maximize the reload. I would use supercharged vertical stabilizer, and I use gun rammer, but calibrated shells is also a very good option, given that you need your standard rounds to have as much pen as possible. The view range concealment on this tank means it's good for spotting, so unlike the Cent 7.1 before, which is not so good because of its slow speed. And the HESH shells, different kind of pramo, so please bear in mind the lessons from the mini tutorial. Hull down sniping, this tank is very effective. You saw there in the end game of that game how effective it can be, and it has a different gun system. So shell management is the key. As you saw on the tracking shot in the Sheridan, you need to have the right shell loaded for the right shot. APCR is your max pen round, which is your standard round, and therefore you can use gun rammer or calibrated shells. I prefer gun rammer, but calibrated shells is also a very good option. And the HESH tag is super gun system, because like I said before, it is a super gun system. It's something different, something fun, it's reliable, it's accurate, and those HESH rounds are great fun when they smash home. So cheers Mush, thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful, I hope you found it enjoyable, I hope you, your friends and your loved ones are all safe and sound, and I guess all that remains for me to say is pants off.